So sometimes I use the terminology of formal meditation practice and informal meditation practice. Formal meditation practice are the meditation practices that have names like the body scan, sitting meditation, mindful hatha yoga, mindful walking. Those are all formal meditation practices. Another way to look at it is you have to carve out time for them. Informal meditation is life itself. And what we're really talking about is cultivating awareness. And since awareness is part of the repertoire of our humanity, this is kind of a systematic way of befriending and reconnecting and familiarizing ourselves with this capacity that we're all born with and that never gets any airtime in school. Again, I'm not saying that we need to cultivate awareness. We already are aware, so we don't have to exercise the muscle of awareness. It's a gift, and we have it. What we need to do is cultivate access to that awareness because it's so easily eclipsed by thinking. Because that's what we learn in school, is how to be really, really good thinkers. So awareness is like an incredibly powerful human faculty. And mindfulness meditation is cultivating access to awareness. And as soon as you take your seat, and as soon as you drop in on the breath, and as soon as you start attending on purpose in the present moment as non-judgmentally as possible, then it's already here. It's not like if you sit now and practice and move to a monastery in the Himalayas, 50 years from now, maybe you'll attain awareness. No, it's already here. And so, there's a way in which meditation really is not what you think. It's literally not what you think, but it's also not all those ideas and opinions that you may have accrued over the course of your lifetime about what meditation is, because all of that is a kind of oriented towards making it into a thing, and it's not a thing. It's a way, let's even say with a capital W, it's a way of being, and we can do it. But it does require exercising the muscle. It does require a certain kind of discipline to engage in the meditative practices, the formal meditation practices, as if your life depended on it. There are people who will say, well, I'm really into mindfulness, but I just live my life moment by moment, and I don't do any of that real practice or formal practice because it takes too much time and I'm too busy. I don't have any time for that. I think for the most part, this is kidding oneself. You can't do the life is practice unless you're grounding it in the formal practice, because all you need to do is get your ass on the cushion once and you'll see the nature of your own mental disturbances. Even if it's just like the wandering mind being all over the map, and meanwhile, you're supposed to be attending to your breath, and you couldn't string 2 or 3 breaths together. But to actually realize that the mind is that labile, that's a profound gift. That's a profound gift. Because if you see it, you realize the impact that can have, even in how you are in relationship to your children. Never mind your colleagues at work. Never mind what your true work is, which you may never get to because your mind is so labile that you're doing everything that's second order and forgetting what's first order. These are some of the risks associated with thinking that you can just be mindful all day long without anchoring it in formal practice. And believe me, I've seen it over the years in millions of people, including myself. It may seem artificial for the first 5 or 10 years, but after a while, it's no more artificial than brushing your teeth in the morning. This is, in some sense, brushing your mind. examining the nature of your own mind and tuning the instrument before you take it out on the road to play it, because the mind is a very delicate thing. And it also can, get out of tune very quickly. And then the notes fall flat. And there are key moments in all of our relationships where if you fall flat in certain moments, it's a betrayal. It's a betrayal of what you most care about. Now, of course, we do this all the time, so I don't mean to scare you or make you feel worried about it, but to say that this is the reason why we need both what I'm calling informal meditation practice and also formal grounding in the meditation practice until ultimately they just become one. There's no separation. But even so, you still get your ass on the cushion. Ultimately, there's no separation between, this meditation and playing with your children or preparing dinner or cleaning the house or going to work, or it's all, a life unfolding, and we can bring awareness to all of it. So if you start to pay attention to how your day unfolds, I know it's certainly true for me, it's very easy to fall into trying to get everything done or everything checked off the to-do list, for instance. And we're often at risk for zoning along on autopilot, getting this done and that done and the other thing done, and actually maybe forgetting why we're doing all this doing in the first place. But we're certainly at risk for not being fully present while we're actually doing the doing. And the real invitation of mindfulness is to bring the domains of being and doing together so that our doing comes out of being. And when the doing comes out of being, it's an entirely different kind of doing. So that can bring whole other levels of meaning and sense of felt satisfaction and connectedness into the unfolding of a day. Thoreau made a very powerful observation about this a long time ago, of course, in the 1830s when he was living at Walden Pond and then wrote Walden. And he said, because he went off to live there, and he explained it by saying, I went to the woods because I wished to live deliberately, to front, which means confront, to front only the essential facts of life and see if I could not learn what they had to teach, and not, when I came to die, discover that I hadn't lived. And if you're just getting things done, the risk is that at the end of the day, you won't have been there for any of it, because you'll have been blasting through your moments to get to the end or to the next something and the next something and the next something. And that's where his observation that, if you're not careful, you'll live your life, and then at the moment that you die, you'll actually realize, whoops, I got the whole agenda wrong, and I missed everything important, and then dead. Be fully awake to what's unfolding now. Whether it's pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral doesn't matter. So it's like, well, I don't mind being awake for the good stuff, but why do I want to be mindful of the bad stuff? Well, because when you are fully present with that, then your relationship to it inevitably will change, and the levels of suffering that arise from the quote-unquote bad stuff is something that you have enormous control over, even if you don't have any control over the bad stuff and what unfolds. Again, it's the same old, same old. How you are in relationship to it makes all the difference. And there you have a very large numbers of degrees of freedom for how to be in wise relationship with the unwanted. And meditation is kind of an interesting activity to invite people to engage in, because it's the one human activity that's not a human activity. It's not an activity. It's not a doing. It's a being. I don't actually know anything else. I can't think of anything else that's quite like this, because it's really a non-doing and it involves non-striving. And so when we come to meditation in the early stages, of course, we need to be instrumental about it, because otherwise we won't set it up to practice at all. We have to have certain kinds of intentions. We set the alarm a little bit earlier, remember to meditate in bed, remember to get down on the floor and do yoga, whatever it is. That requires being instrumental, making things happen. But we're setting up the instrumental as a kind of gateway to the non-instrumental, to the non-doing and the non-striving that we've been pointing to. And so there's a kind of beautiful balance between being and doing, and the non-instrumental, in some sense, nurtures the instrumental. And we can see this all the time in sports. Like the classic example is like when, somebody goes back, an outfielder goes back for a fly ball. It's like just impossible to catch. And there, the amount of physics that has to go on to calculate the trajectory and the play of gravity and how fast they're running and the angle of the sun, and they jump as far as they can, and they aren't looking at the ball, and they put their hand up and the ball is in the glove, and every 30,000 people in the stands just go, "Oh my God, how does someone do that?" They don't do that by thinking and calculating the physics of the trajectory of the ball or of their glove or anything like that. In fact, you don't know how you do it, but it's non-instrumental being that's doing all the doing. Of course, you have to train as an athlete to be able to do that, to be able to jump and have good eyesight and, be very fast to run across the field and all of that stuff. But what it does, and one of the reasons we love sports, is that when you see something like that, it's just totally unbelievable. It's pure ballet. It's pure ballet. But it means that we have to both train really hard and at the same time get out of our own way and just let the body and our natural capacity for what's sometimes called flow, getting into flow, where it's no longer the thinking mind that's doing any of this. It's some other aspect of what we call physical intelligence that's just kind of very, very interesting, and that we all have. You don't have to be a professional major league ball player. This is something that's native to us. And so when we take our seat in whatever ways we do, literally and metaphorically, when we drop in, then we're actually engaging in a beautiful blending of the instrumental that's required to get us to take our seat, and then the non-instrumental, which is the dropping into being and the letting go of any attachment to outcome whatsoever. And the irony is that when you let go of those attachments to outcome, you get the more desired outcome often. There's a certain kind of mystery to it, and a certain kind of, in some sense, poetic justice. Well, the thought may be arising in your mind of like, my God, what a giant commitment this must be. I don't have the time to commit to something this grandiose, so to speak. And that's a very valid thought. Here's another thought to, in some sense, parry it. You got nothing but time. The whole question is, how are you going to use the time that you have? The stakes are actually extremely high. They're so high that it's important not to take this whole thing too seriously. So I like to say that this is way too serious to take too seriously. And so we have to approach it with a sense of humor. It's too serious to take seriously. And I'm serious about that.